Welcome to this explainer. Look, today we're jumping straight into a somewhat hidden crisis, right where agriculture meets public safety. It's all about how high-tech, modern farming is basically leaving our traditional 911 emergency playbooks completely in the dust. We're going to dive into the absolute necessity for modern farm systems emergency preparedness and response training. And this matters deeply. Not just for the first responders who are out there risking their lives on local 911 calls, but because these are the exact systems and the exact people that secure our entire food supply.
So let's just set the scene for a second. Picture this. A call comes into a local volunteer fire department. An accident has happened inside a modernized farm building, and the farmer is totally incapacitated. First responders rush out to the scene, and in their heads, they're expecting a standard mechanical tractor accident, right? But what they actually walk into, wow, it's an entirely different beast.
Suddenly, these responders are staring down an incredibly complex web of energized, automated systems they've likely never encountered all in one place before. The modern farm isn't just pitchforks and diesel anymore. It's a full-on high-tech energy grid. You've got an electric, autonomous tractor, you've got solar panels on the roof, massive stationary battery storage on the walls, and automated ventilation systems that are literally holding back toxic fumes. With the farmer unable to help, the crew is forced into this terrifying, high-stakes guessing game. What's actually safe to touch? What's safe to shut down? And if they do just cut the main power, what happens to all the livestock inside?
Which brings us to Chapter 1, a dangerous training gap.
Now, this dangerous confusion on the ground, it's not a failure on the farmer's part. They're simply adopting efficient, new tools to keep feeding the world. And it's definitely not a failure of the local fire department. They're highly trained for the emergencies they know. What we're actually looking at is a massive gap where innovation has just moved way faster than our shared training systems. For generations, we've successfully trained responders for traditional mechanical hazards. Think tractor rollovers or grain bin entrapments. And hey, that training remains vital. But today, those traditional hazards are sharing space with highly interconnected energy systems. Honestly, you kind of have to look at a modern combine tractor less like a piece of mechanical farm gear and more like a high-voltage data center on wheels. The whole farm has become an advanced microgrid.
Let's move into Chapter 2 and look at some of these emerging agricultural hazards.
We can start by breaking down the specific, scientifically validated hazards from recent safety research, kicking off with farm electrification. Because here's the thing, you can't just take the emergency playbook for a crashed Tesla on the highway and apply it to a 15-ton tractor sitting out in a muddy field. It just doesn't work. The operational doctrine literally has to be rewritten for these massive machines, especially since they feature these sealed-off, incredibly hard-to-reach battery compartments. When responders are dealing with heavy electric equipment or solar storage, they have to understand that high-voltage, stranded energy and thermal runaway risks stick around long after a fire seems to be out. A damaged lithium-ion battery can reignite hours, days, or even weeks later. Dealing with that takes a staggering amount of water. We're talking often 125 gallons per minute or more, and 45 minutes of constant thermal imaging just to confirm the threat is actually cooling down. You absolutely cannot assume a vehicle is safe just because it's silent or the flames are gone.
From there, we move to one of the most hazard-dense yet totally under-discussed areas, anaerobic digesters and alternative fuels. As farms look for innovative ways to manage waste and generate power, these systems are popping up everywhere. But they represent a literal triple threat of asphyxiation, explosion, and toxic gas poisoning.
If we dive into the hard data backing this up, a 2024 peer-reviewed analysis gives us a really startling breakdown of biogas plant accidents. Gas explosions, they account for nearly 70% of incidents. Over 21% are toxic gas releases. This really grounds the threat in quantified science. We aren't just brainstorming hypothetical worst-case scenarios here, these are historically proven highly explosive working environments.
And the chemistry is incredibly unforgiving. Biogas is heavily methane and carbon dioxide, sure, but it can also pack up to 3,000 parts per million of hydrogen sulfide. To put that into perspective for you, exposure to hydrogen sulfide above just 750 parts per million causes death in minutes. So the number one life safety rule here is absolutely crucial. Never, ever attempt an unprotected rescue as someone who has collapsed in a manure storage or biogas area. The atmospheric toxicity is instantly lethal, and tragically, would-be rescuers who rush in without breathing apparatus frequently end up as secondary casualties.
All right, the third major hazard category we need to talk about is agricultural robotics and autonomy. In this space, the tech is just explicitly outpacing the occupational safety standards. We are literally putting robots out in the field faster than we can write the safety manuals for when things go wrong.
Because these machines rely on cameras, GPS boundaries, and terrain sensors instead of a person sitting in a cab, it creates a fundamentally different kind of hazard. Let's say a responder encounters an automated machine pinned up against a barn. The critical danger right then is knowing whether that equipment is going to unexpectedly try to correct itself or remotely restart the second power is restored. I mean, without a human in the driver's seat to just hand over the keys, how do you truly 100% know the machine is off?
That takes us to Chapter 3, Filling the Information Void. To safely handle all these interconnected systems, responders desperately need standardized operational details. They need specific emergency response guides for a robotic tractor, just like they have for a passenger car. But there's a huge information void in the way. It sounds crazy, but the national databases our 911 dispatchers and responders rely on, they simply don't have this agricultural data yet. Research shows that agriculture-specific details, stuff like exact disconnect locations, remote restart logic, robotic failure protocols, they just do not exist in the public literature. We basically have to build this knowledge base from scratch by going straight to the equipment manufacturers, the dealers, and the technical specialists.
So, Chapter 4, a voluntary, practical solution. To actually bridge this gap safely, the Shiawassee County Farm Bureau put forward a really pragmatic approach to the Michigan Farm Bureau. Their strategy is broken down into 3 collaborative common-sense phases. Step 1, listen to and survey the farmers, the dealers, and the responders on the ground to find out what's actually missing. Step 2, review the existing programs so we aren't wasting time reinventing the wheel or duplicating basic farm safety materials. And Step 3, develop and test a voluntary pilot training program that is built entirely on validated real-world needs.
One of the most brilliant deliverables from this proposed pilot would be these offline-capable command cards. Think about the sheer panic during the first few minutes of a farm emergency. Now imagine the responder being able to pull out a durable, weather-resistant card that cuts right through that chaos with the exact right questions. What can still move? What is controlled remotely? What critical livestock operations are going to fail if I pull this specific breaker? Having those simple, targeted questions right there could easily prevent an injured farmer from being joined by an injured firefighter.
But, and this is a really important point for the farming community, this whole initiative is about empowerment, not red tape. The organizers make it super clear, participation has to remain strictly voluntary. The entire goal is to protect confidential farm information, respect private property rights, and absolutely avoid creating any kind of new unfunded mandates or regulatory headaches for our agricultural producers. I want to leave you with a final, really provocative thought taken directly from this proposal. Our agricultural systems are rapidly evolving into these highly advanced ecosystems of clean energy and smart robotics. The farm has fundamentally changed. The technology has completely changed. And as we keep pushing the boundaries of what a modern farm can do, our commitment to the safety of our farmers and first responders just has to evolve right alongside it. The question isn't whether this tech is coming, it's already here. The real question is, will our emergency planning be ready when that 911 call actually comes in?